People want short and sweet because of the attention and the time conflict.
But if you get those repeated touches with your audience, you will get business.
Welcome to this episode of Sunny's Silver Linings. Today's guest is Tom Watson, Channel Chief at Titan HQ. In today's episode, they chat about how to build scale and value as an MSP owner, social media marketing strategies, and so much more. And now, your host, the founder and CEO of IT by Design, Mr. Sunny Kaila. Over to you, Sunny.
Hi, Tom. Welcome to the show.
Great to be here, Sunny. I know we've talked about this for a while and just glad to be able to connect with you. I know this is a great podcast you have.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Tom. And I appreciate your time. And we were talking about this just at DattoCon in Washington, D.C. last month. Time flies. Last month. And we chatted and we're like, so you have a lot going on in terms of your book and everything else. And you have so much experience. And I'm like, I want to share this experience with my podcast subscribers and our ITBD University, which is an education platform for MSP. So I want to start with your journey. So can you please share your journey, your experience, especially your entrepreneurial journey?
Well, I would say, this goes back to the 90s, and I'm in my 25th year now in the channel. But I started working for an MSP in, I believe, 97 or 98. And I really enjoyed the work there. And then I ended up leaving and going and working for a government contractor as a systems admin. But I quickly realized that this MSP that I'd worked for held some keys to what I wanted to do. And in particular, they had a couple of managed service agreements with several businesses. And so I went back to them and I said, hey, listen, I'm looking at starting, at that time, we just called them IT service companies. And I would be interested in these contracts you have. And I started my MSP by buying two pretty large contracts at the time. And that kind of catapulted me into being a managed service provider. And this is back in the year 2000. So that's kind of the main thing I would say that got me going in this. And then I ran that business for 15 years. I saw an opportunity to sell, had a very interested buyer. And so I sold. And then, bringing us up to today, I got recruited by some friends, Adam Slutskin, you probably know him, and to come to the vendor side and work in more of a, channel chief type role. So I've now worked at Axient, which was eFolder before that. And then I worked at Ninja One. And now I work at Titan HQ as channel chief.
Yeah, so you have both sides of experience as a MSP owner. I heard you say 15 years. And then you have tons of vendor side of the experience. So you kind of really look at things from both perspectives and kind of really be that bridge and share perspectives by combining those two, because normally those perspectives are very different when you are an MSP owner and you're looking at things with that MSP owner lens. And then vendors, they look at things from a different lens. But you can see both sides. So that's really exciting and something that not too many people have. So let's get into our next question, Tom, which is, like, if you were the MSP owner today, now seeing both sides, what would you be doing today if you were running MSP, your own MSP, and you're actively running it hands-on? What would be you'd focusing on? What your business strategy would look like, and how would you build that scale, that value as a owner?
Well, exactly, Sunny. And I do have that view of it. I kind of feel like I'm the voice of the MSP often in vendor organizations. And I work in a marketing role, but also in a sales role somewhat. And so I will say a lot of my views of what MSPs should work on, what I would do, are viewed around that, are viewed around the idea that marketing drives sales. And that if you want to be a successful MSP, you need to have a lot of good prospects coming in, prospect companies that you can then work on and close. And so you really need to develop marketing. And I look at that as a campaign style marketing, lots of touches, lots of in person, lots of ways to get attention, to show that you're an expert in your community, to show that you have products and services and it can provide what companies need in your area, and getting that word out. So that's a lot of what I think about when I think about what would I do if I were an MSP today.
So, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Marketing drives sales, right? And marketing focus, right? Because if you want to fix your sales, you have to start with fixing your marketing. That's what I heard you say. Now, let's take a deeper dive. If you were MSP owner, what specifically you will be doing from structure, strategy, marketing plan point of view to make sure that you have best in class marketing engine?
Well, first thing to do, I'm going to sit down and decide, as an MSP, do I have the ability to handle this marketing in-house? Generally, I would say some of it, but you're probably going to need some outside help. And I think it's very important to realize that if you're worried about technical problems every day and client management and getting the job done and the service tickets resolved, it is very hard to add marketing onto that. So there has to be a realization that you're only going to be able to do so much. You're going to need to bring in experts to help you. It doesn't need to be a full-time marketing company, but maybe it's someone to help with social media, or maybe it's someone to help with event planning, or maybe it's someone to help with getting a hold of lists and building out lists and scrubbing them. But in any case, you need to identify what you can get done and then what you need other people to get done, particularly when it comes to that campaign style marketing. And when I say that, like, if you're going to I tell people, if I was to do an MSP today, I would do 12 lunch and learns in 12 months, straight up.
12 months. Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah. So I do one every month. And in doing that, in committing to that, I'm committing to a lot of touches to the business owners in my community. And I'm also demonstrating to the business owners in my community, I'm real, I'm here. You should pay attention to me because I'm offering something more than just IT services, because I'm going to pack those lunch and learns full of educational content where I teach, cybersecurity best practice, where I teach, how you need to manage your network, what I can offer to that. And that's kind of the backbone of what I like to do. I like to do a lot of event-based marketing, and I look at lunch and learns and webinars as absolutely critical to growing an MSP.
Okay. Now, lunch and learn is one thing that you would be focusing on. We're going to get a little bit more into this piece because, it is really important to engage your local community to come and have lunch and learn. And what else you will be focusing on if you have another, you want another 2 part? There's a lot, but let's look at things from 3 strategies. So number 1 is lunch and learn. What is the number 2 that you will be focusing on?
Number 2 would be social media. Okay. And of course, these all play together, Sunny. We know that because if I'm doing the lunch and learns, I'm going to want to use social media effectively to get the word out and for follow-ups. But I'm probably going to bring someone in to help me with social media. And it doesn't have to be someone who is, a social media company or a professional marketer. I found a lot of MSPs have gotten an intern from a local college, someone who's working in marketing or wants a first job or part-time work, and do that. And I would do a lot of video content. I know you and I both do a lot of video content online, and I think video content is extremely valuable for MSPs to use. But also that cadence of social media with, 3, 4, 5 posts per week of value add, video posts combined with text posts, combined with instructional. And I'm going to try to position myself in my community as an expert in these IT areas, educating the public in a way that's not technical, but makes them understand IT and makes it feel like they can accommodate it and use what you're teaching them, and they want to know more.
Okay. So I heard lunch and learns, Tom. The second is social media. Third one is?
Well, there's probably a third and a fourth. I'd probably do, first of all, I'd probably have a newsletter. I think newsletters are really valuable, especially for MSPs. And I'd probably do a monthly, but maybe I'd start it out as a quarterly and work towards a monthly. But
Okay.
I think at a minimum, a quarterly is good. I think that these things get they get passed around to other businesses. It's a great way to track business. And I would also do a webinar series, kind of playing off the Lunch and Learn series, because maybe there's people that can't make it to my Lunch and Learns, or maybe I'm going to expand my region, my area a little bit, have technicians in another area. I'm going to utilize the webinars to have a further reach, and also for the people who just don't want to come and spend 2 hours at a lunch.
Got it. Okay. So let's get into Lunch and Learns a little bit. So I used to do it as a MSP owner a while back.
Yeah.
And when we were in New York City, in Midtown, and one of our client, Tom, was Rosa Mexicano chain, and they were like, we were there in IT, and we still do some work for them. They had a like very small venue, like about 100 people with the restaurant. And then I reached out to like all my vendors, like Sonic Wall at that time. And I'm talking about like
Yeah.
2010, 2009, somewhere there. And we had so they gave us MDF funds on a regular basis. We used that fund, worked with their team to drive traffic to Rosa Mexicano Union Square. I remember it was where they have this venue. And so in the city, people can just, it's easy to travel. People used to come there. So we used to do like at least once a quarter with different. We have done it with VMware at that time, with Sonic Wall, like, vendors of that time where they had really good MDF funds. And they were supporting us with the funds to host this. And we were going after a lot of hedge funds in the city, the finance sector. And we will just have that target list of a lot of finance companies around Wall Street, and inviting their C-level executives like IT managers, directors, because even back then we were doing co-managed IT. We didn't call it co-managed IT, but we were dealing with a lot of internal IT departments. And I remember that about 50 or so people, we will register like 70, 80, 50 people will come, and then you kind of really have the local rep from Sonic Wall or anyone that you're using at that time, and they used to kind of work with you to provide that education on what they were doing and how that together we're going to help that customer, and it was a great way. But question that I have right now is, with the COVID, a lot has changed, right? So in-person events, not too many companies are doing in-person events right now, and it's just different, right? This world is different. So I want us to share, like from your experience, how can one go about Lunch and Learn? Should it be hybrid? Should it be all in person? What are the vendors out there where they still are very active with working with MSP owners with MDF funds? So can you share some your insights and your experience which can work today to execute on Lunch and Learns, 12 Lunch and Learns, one per month?
Well, I'll tell you, I actually built an MDF program at Axiom, their first ever. And I would, for the larger MSPs that could show they were going to have 60 or 70 in the room, I would fly out and do the Lunch and Learn with them, plan it, and then fly out and do it. And it was fantastic. One of the things we did really well was we would call the local FBI office or Department of Homeland Security, and we would get someone for free to come out and speak at these Lunch and Learns. I mean, it was great. It was a great resource, because then we added something on besides just the messaging as a vendor, the messaging as an MSP. We added on the messaging of a government official who had expertise in these areas, and that worked great. And I love the idea. I haven't done it yet, but I think you're onto something, Sunny, of a hybrid event. As we know with these in-person events, as you said, some people have just changed the way they buy, just like Netflix and Amazon changed the way we buy things, the way we consume entertainment or buy our products. The pandemic changed the way we shop for and evaluate and buy IT services. Not everyone, but some people just aren't going back out. So you need to cater to them. I think it's possible to do a Lunch and Learn and to stream it also as a webinar. And then you send those people that don't come to the webinar, to the lunch and learn, you send them a DoorDash or something like that for $15.
Yeah.
And you make it so they're a part of it as well.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. That how can you engage those individuals where they cannot come in person for whatever reason, but you can get that impact or have them engaged as well. And so that's something. Okay, so social media, what action you think so if you were the MSP owner, what action you will take? You said 3 to 5 things that you will share. So can you talk to us a little bit about marketing side? I mean, the social media side of the marketing. What would you be doing if you were a small, medium-sized MSP?
Well, I think one thing that plays in well here. So if I'm doing 12 lunch and learns and maybe I've got some webinars in there, or I'm doing them as, dual stream. One thing to think about, Sunny, that I love doing in marketing is if I produce a webinar or lunch and learn, I'm recording that. And I'm going to cut that video professionally, and I'm going to use that in my social media. I'm not just going to do one-off. I believe one of the most important things is if you take the time to produce something like a webinar, lunch and learn, get more value out of it. You had people speaking there. You were getting your messaging across. You were in a professional venue. Yeah, package that up and make it look good and put it out there on your social media. Make it educational. Pull the clips out where you give people advice on something they can do to secure their network. Best practices. Hey, listen, security awareness training only works if you get people to do it. So here's some methods that you can use to get your employees to do the security awareness training. Things like that. Yeah. But don't just advertise to them. Give them value in those posts that you make. Because my feeling is, Sunny, is that when vendors or when MSPs just put out posts that are just product and service advertisements, they don't go anywhere. We have to give people value. So then they want to know what more value can they have if I actually worked with them.
Yeah. No, I mean, what I loved about what you just shared is that you can kind of really use that content, whatever you're creating, like, for example, webinars and the video So even video from the webinar can be shared in a micro-learning format, which works nowadays on social media, and being very educational about it. And whatever. So if, back in the days when, as MSP, if I'm on the finance sector, really sharing something with those small businesses where they are my potential customers, something that is going to make a difference in their life, like educational side of the business, and sharing that on social media and being consistent with that, and the multi-use or multi-purpose. Like if I'm doing webinar or I'm doing anything, just kind of really taking that clip out of that recording and also sharing if there's something useful. So that's awesome. Now, newsletters is the third thing that you shared. So talk to me a little bit again. What would you be doing if you don't have the newsletter, you want to start, and what are the best practices to start?
Yeah, one of the things with newsletters is I think it just adds enormous credibility to your business if you're sending out a regular newsletter. It says, hey, we're here. It's a constant ping. I mean, ideally, I think these things go out weekly, but I don't try to, when I'm talking to MSPs about marketing, I don't try to push too much at once or make people think they have to do too much at once. That's why I said start with quarterly, then go to monthly. But in there, you can use things, I believe, like Constant Contact I use when I have my MSP, and they kind of have newsletter templates. And then, of course, you can subscribe to other people's newsletters and get an idea of what it is. But make sure in those newsletters, you give relevant information to your clients and potential client market that's not technical, that's talking about things they're concerned about, and that they can engage with, and gives them ability to ask you more questions. And it doesn't, nothing I've noticed, Sunny, I see some newsletters and they're long, they're like this long. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be. I actually worked at Ninja for a couple of years, and they put out the Ninja Dojo, and it's like this long. It's perfect. It's got like 4 or 5 topics, got a couple articles to check on, and it's got a couple of like tips and tricks. Doesn't have to be a lot. It's really more about getting something out there that the audience can connect with.
Yeah, no, that's great advice, because like I did when I didn't have like a full-fledged marketing team, where we failed was consistency. We'll send something, then don't send it for another month or 2 months. Like
Yeah.
I'm talking about like early stage. And I think that's where I see that a lot of MSP peers, they do get stuck. There's a lot of excitement with the new product, I mean, new project, new starting something new. And the owner starts driving it. They drive it for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and then it dies down when they kind of move on to the next thing. And so I think two things that you shared, which is really great, was great advice, was start small. It doesn't have to be monthly. If your capability can only do quarterly with the consistency, then do quarterly, not don't do monthly, right? And then but when you start, then start with consistency, and consistency is going to come from, if whatever resources you are deploying, that if those resources are well aligned to deliver on a quality, and you don't have to focus on quantity, because there is that lot of like if you try to, you mentioned a couple of, rather than a couple of pages, like keep it very simple and concise, like to the point information, because one, people don't have too much time to read, to spend on your newsletter. They want like really really key points, what matters, right, and what will make a difference. And second is, if you try to create too much, then that's going to impact your consistency, because you're not going to have those resources every month or every quarter to do that. Short and sweet newsletter, and mapping your capability to make sure that you can do consistency, and take baby steps before you go too big, that quarterly rather than monthly, unless you have the resources to do monthly.
Sonny, I like what you said there. It's so important that you not drop off, that you realize what you can do and you put the right resources in. Like you said, in that do something and then not do it for 2 months doesn't send a very good message to the audience or your current clients. But that's why, actually I had a conversation with an MSP about 2 weeks ago, and I was at an event in Orlando, and it was great because they're going to buy some products from Titan HQ, and I offer all kinds of marketing assistance and stuff like that. And I asked them, I said, well, are you spending any money with an outside marketing agency? And they said, yes, we're spending $900 a month, but we're not getting our value out of it. But what I tuned into was they were spending money with an outside agency. And so they had realized what they could take on and what they needed help with. And they were willing to go outside and get someone to do certain things. And that's a huge step. So I knew immediately I could work with these guys on marketing because they already had the right mindset. They needed help with it. They needed to bring people in, and they were willing to spend money, and willing to spend money on a monthly basis. And they've been spending over $900 for like a year and a half. So they're good to go. Once you get into that mindset, you are ready to take on some real marketing because you have acknowledged you're not going to get it done yourself. And the fact is that for high scaling MSPs or ones that want to, you're not going to be able to do all this marketing yourself in-house. That's just what I've found. And I'd be curious to hear what you think too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Having something, because the entrepreneur will always have a lot of excitement around new ideas, new things, and that's why they're entrepreneurs. And you go with full energy, because you don't see the consistency challenge later on when you have the next big shiny object that you have to focus on. So a lot of that excitement dies down, and the consistency is not there. And people, where they start loving your content, start loving your newsletter, or anything that you do in marketing, then they want, there's expectation that you're setting unconsciously with your with the content consumer. What we talked about earlier was quantity is not important nowadays. Actually, you do a podcast, you do a webinar, you do any kind of thing, there is just so much content out there. People want video content, or anything that you're writing is very short. People are not even reading really really great resources, like especially the next generation, the generation that is now in the workspace, especially with the new professionals entering. Even with New York Times, where we used to pay a lot of attention, but could be any big newspaper, right? What do they normally read is, okay, this bridge is being built, or this, something major, which is They will probably read an article there, but people want short and sweet because of the attention and the time conflict in general, the world that we live in, making it like micro learning. That's why TikTok is doing really, really great,
Right.
even from the learning university point of view, because these are short and sweet and very impactful videos where their algorithm starts really helping you with the content that you're consuming. LinkedIn is the same. So yeah, you're right. I mean, it's really important for us to really know what that potential customer is looking for as MSP. So if I'm focusing on law firms, what are they looking for from the technology point of view? Right? What these law firm owners are looking for from their technology trusted advisor, that they will listen to them. They will consume the content. Then when is very important, that consistency. And then overall the design, the it needs to be in a more of micro learning point of view. Micro learning lens should be applied. You could be writing a newsletter, blog, article, anything that you're doing, while this content helps with the SEO side of this things. But you do want to make sure that it's consumable and there are small bites that they can consume. And Tom's, any last thought that you want to share before we close?
It's just, in talking about marketing, it's my favorite topic to talk about with MSPs, is that choose something you're going to do next year and that has multiple touches, and commit to it and get it done. Whether that be social or webinars or lunch and learns or newsletters, just pick one thing of those and make sure you actually do it. And the results will come to you. It might be 6 months, it might be a year, but if you get those repeated touches with your audience, you will get business.
Yeah. Thank you, Tom. Yeah. So what I heard you say, Tom, is, I mean, I loved when you started with the line marketing drive sales.
Yeah.
And this was a reinforcement of what Gary Vee said last year at our Build It conference in September. I think it was September 1st, 2021. He said, sales is a bad marketing. He started with the very similar line, but the meaning was the same, that if you want to fix your sales, fix your marketing, and sales will automatically follow. There's stuff needs to be done there, but if you don't fix marketing, especially nowadays, it's not gonna help sales. The second thing, like from the lunch and learn, like it worked for us, it's working for MSPs where they're doing it. I travel a lot in the channel events. I talk to so many MSP owners where they're doing well. So it's a proven recipe that you shared, Tom. It works. It doesn't need to be funded by yourself as well, because there's so many vendors out there where they would love to partner with you and share their MDF funds. Their MDF funds are created. So best MSPs are leveraging strategic lunch and learn joint plans where they will partner up with a vendor, create a strategic 12-month plan with various vendors, bring them in, use their resources to deliver that as a joint lunch and learn, and it works. It's a really, really essential part of your marketing strategy. Number two, with the social media, Gary Vee said it last year with importance of LinkedIn, especially because you're going after C-level executives as a MSP owner. So Gary Vee said what changed from last year to this year is from the social media point of view, with the LinkedIn, TikTok type of engagement is required by MSPs, because that's where the new customer is, that's where the younger customer is, and their overall platform is strong. So using social media is important. Also, knowing what platform you use, like LinkedIn, it's a proven platform. There is no question about it. But also being intentional and futuristic, keeping TikTok in mind as well, because that's where people are consuming. And third is from the newsletter point of view, the quality over quantity, keeping it very short and concise, meaningful, keeping who you are targeting and is that content going to create value for them, and really doing it with consistency. Within that, you also share really, really great insight, which can be actionable very quickly. Is the like when you create something else, it could be lunch and learn when, let's say, that a vendor is talking or you're talking, recording that webinar, you recording that, and then all it takes is that
Reuse it.
use the same hardware content, everything that you have, but you can feed your social media sharing strategy, like same stuff that you have already done, is just keeping their library, making small or like, yeah, so sound bites out of it, and then sharing that on social media, because everything, as you said, is interconnected as well. One thing leads to the other thing. So great insights. Thank you so much, Tom. We appreciate you, and thank you for your time today. Thanks for coming to the show.
Thank you, Sunny.